My name is Tamara Evans. I am your sergeant at arms. I'll get the meeting started. I am in charge of time alarms. Whether you are guest or member, we will ask you to remember that our meetings start at 9 in the morning Pacific time. Every month we meet on Fridays, just the first and the third. We prepare inspiring speeches and enjoy the spoken word. Our club has noble goals and we offer many roles. Choose the role to your taste. There is no time to waste. Don't forget to change your name in accordance with your role. We all focus on the teamwork, for perfection is our goal. After every presentation, we provide evaluation with the best intent, just to help our members grow. Masters of Evaluation, dear members, welcome guests. We need your full attention, for we have a few requests. Your cell phones should be muted and the ether not polluted with the sounds of pesky pets. And there are some more requests. Your unnecessary actions can be looked at as distractions. Let them stay behind the scene. For a while, turn off the screen. But as soon as you are done, turn the camera back on. We would like to see your faces. Now that everybody's taken places, our president, Sandra Savage, charming, humorous, and more, cannot wait to take the floor.
Thank you, Tamara. I said it right. Yay. So this is my first meeting as club president.
Hey.
I want to make sure everybody knows the other officers in the club, so you know who to go to for what. I'm most excited about Judith. Judith is our VP of Education, and she's got some great things planned. We're working on getting her going and delivering to us. I think you're still focusing on mentoring, right, Judith? Okay. And then for our VP of Membership is Ms. Muriel, which makes 100% sense because she invites the most people to our meetings. She's really good at networking. Our VP PR is Shantae. Our secretary is our previous immediate past president, John White. And our treasurer is Vicky, which is perfect. And our sergeant of arms, who you've already heard talk today, is Tamara Evans. So I'm really excited about that, the new team that we have. We've got so many plans that we're working on, and we are hopeful that we can have a really productive year and continue to raise the bar on our evaluation skills and on our speeches. Lately, I've come across the idea that we should leave every meeting smarter. It's like going to school for an hour and a half, and you learn at least 3 new topics from our 3 speakers each week. And I see we have a guest, and so I'd like to meet our guest. How do you say your name? Nutha?
That's right. Natha.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, and how long you've been in Toastmasters.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Natha, or you can call me by my nickname Beer, if it's easier, like alcoholic beer. I'm from Thailand, and I'm from Bangkok Toastmaster Internationals. And Actually, I've been following Masters of Evaluation for like 2 years, but I never have a chance to join because it's right now it's like 11 p.m. in Thailand. Yeah, but I'm really excited about today. So I hope that I would learn a lot from today's meeting. Thank you very much. Back to you.
And Calvin, my good friend, tell us a little bit about yourself.
First of all, I'm an enthusiastic Toastmaster. I enjoy Toastmasters meetings because they help me learn, grow, and share. I'm a DTM, and fortunately, I had the privilege to complete the Pathways curriculum back in 2021.
That is amazing. You've got me beat. I'm funny, so I'm not going to do humor. So, any other guests? I don't see any. Let's go ahead and start our meeting. We do have a couple changes going forward. First of all, our timer today, John, is just going to put the time in the chat. He doesn't have to give a formal report. He's professional. He knows how to do that. So he is going to be taking care of that in the chat. Our Zoom master is our newest member. Let's all please welcome Rosie.
Yay!
Very excited. Very excited. And then we're going to go ahead and get started with our first speech. Our first speech is from, oh my gosh, Vicky. We're in for a treat. We're in for a big treat. Your evaluator is John White, and I don't see him here.
He said he's running late. Do you want to switch? Do you want to have the second speaker go first so that he could still evaluate me and not try to change the agenda too much?
Good idea. And
Okay, I have a question.
yes,
Isn't that my role? The Toastmasters?
Yeah, you didn't turn it over to the Toastmaster today.
I'm sorry about that. So let's turn the meeting over to Marjorie.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm very happy to be today your Toastmasters. I'm going to share a screen with all of you. And today our theme is events that have happened on July 19. And the first one that I'm going to show is this one. I'm learning, and probably all of you or some of you are also learning some little things. And this is the great New York City fire on July 19, 1845. It started in a whale oil and candle manufacturing. And it quickly spread in the structures. While very destructive in 1845, the fire confirmed the
I'm
value.
going to be late. I'll be in about 6:30. Do you mind if you can keep it? Thanks.
Please mute yourself. The 1845 fire confirmed the building codes restricting were important and were implemented in 1815. And in spite of the general improvements, 1845 fire prompted public calls, and that's why was established a reserve unit called Exempt Fireman's Company. If you didn't know about that, well, there is some little information, and that's what I learned today about 19th of July in any year. Let me introduce to you, while the Toastmaster was introduced, the general evaluator is Ray Sweeney. Our word of the day grammarian accountant is Muriel Shabazz. Muriel, would you like to give us the word of the day?
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Okay. As Wordmaster Grammarian, it is my duty, my role, my honor to introduce a word of the day, as well as to take note of any memorable phrases that are used during this auspicious meeting. So the word of the day that I've chosen based on our theme, by Marjorie is incident, meaning an event or a group of events occurring as part of a larger sequence, an incident or period considered in isolation. So I'm going to be tracking who uses the word of the day, which is incident. And I've said as a challenge or opportunity, whichever way you like to look at it, let's use the word incident at least 20 times during our meeting for each one that takes the lecture. And I will also be taking note of memorable phrases and grammar and give my report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Muriel. And without incident, we are going to continue our meeting. I don't see the evaluator for Vicky, so we are going to switch our second speaker.
I'm
That-
here.
Are you here? Great, thank
I'm
you.
here.
Thank
Just in the
you.
nick of time. John White, been a Toastmaster for 19 years, a founding member of MoE. May I evaluate and cue up Vicky Trabash's speech?
Thank you. Welcome, John and Vicky Travash. She is our first speaker for today with the Pathways Strategic Relationships, leading in your volunteer organization, Vicky Travash. The floor is yours.
If I could add just a little more information, please. Sorry, the sequence, my tardiness, I think, changed the sequence. Look, Vicky is working on this level 5 speech. She's going to use the Monroe's motivated sequence. For those of you that are not familiar with that, get the attention of the audience, establish the need, satisfy the need, visualize the future, call to action. So in so doing, Vicky is particularly interested in feedback about, does she hold the audience's attention, and is her call to action compelling? With that, I turn it over to Vicky Trabash.
Thank you very much, John. And Mr. Timer, could you pin yourself on the upper left-hand corner of the screen so I can see you and watch my time carefully? Today, I'm going to talk about an incident that happened to me where I failed as a leader. And the importance of this story is that I learned a valuable lesson about leadership. Now, we are leading every day in every way, in our homes, in our places of church or religious places, our work, and especially Toastmasters. How do we lead successfully? Now, as no surprise to anyone, I am a strong leader. Yeah? Yeah. And I want to talk today about an incident that happened that started in 2005 when I heard about the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda. And I met a woman who asked me to come to Rwanda and speak. Well, I don't know how I missed the genocide in 1994, but I did. And then I read about it and I said, I have to do more. So I held a fundraiser here in Portland, Oregon, before I even went to Rwanda, to raise money and awareness for the country of Rwanda. And I raised $23,000. And we had almost 200 women show up. And we used a brick as our model. At the end of the evening, when we had speakers, including the screenwriter for the movie Hotel Rwanda, I asked each woman to pick up their brick. And I said, this brick represents the weight of a malnourished child that cannot be comforted. This brick is the burden that a woman carries down a path as she struggles to find a way to feed her family. And this brick is the color of the soil that a woman saw when she was being violated face down in the dirt. But this brick also represents hope. And take home your bricks and remember the stories you've heard and the lessons you've heard from the women of Rwanda. And to my husband's delight, who had to place 200 bricks under these chairs, every woman took home their brick. So the next month I went to Rwanda. And as I walked around the country and I learned about the people, everywhere I went, I saw bricks. And there was one point where I was going down a hill to visit a child-headed household. And there's nothing better than a bunch of Africans watching a white woman skid down a hill on flat shoes and waiting for her to fall on her keister. And as I remember this, I remember saying to myself, a woman struggles down a hill. I returned from Rwanda changed, and I decided I wanted to start a foundation. And I didn't know what to call it. And you know, there's great marketing and all of that. And I thought about this brick. And I called a friend from Rwanda and I said, what is the Kinyarwanda word for brick? And he said, Itafari. I said, done. We are the Itafari Foundation. And in 2005, I started the Itafari Foundation, where our goal was to change the lives of Rwandans in the way they wanted to be changed. We had 5 projects. We built a high school. We imported the jewelry in baskets from Rwanda. We did microfinance. We did child sponsorship. And we bought goats for child-headed households. An amazing organization. And I was president of that organization from 2005 to 2016. And that was my fail. Do you know the expression, the cult of leadership? It's where someone follows a leader rather than the cause. If you think about our politics right now, we are absolutely in the cult of leadership. Both parties, so this is bipartisan comment. We are following leaders, not what they stand for. And unfortunately, that happened to me with Itafari. We raised over $1.5 million. And often people gave to me, they'd go, oh, Rwanda, that's such a sad story. The people of Rwanda do not want to be remembered for a genocide, but for their strength and resilience. I have no pity for the people of Rwanda. I have a desire to change their lives. But I led that board. And you know, only one board member ever went to Rwanda in all those years. And they came on the board because they were friends of mine, because they wanted to make a difference. But I did the work. And it was my fault and my responsibility. You see, I was so passionate about Rwanda that I would get anything done. One time I had Reverend Bishop Nathan Gasatura, who was coming from Rwanda, and he gave me a month notice. And I said, we're going to raise $50,000. I told my board and they looked at me, and I and John, he was on the board as well. We put this event together and we raised $50,000, but at what cost? I suffered a massive heart attack in 2013. I went through cancer in 2014. And I realized the mistake I made by leading myself, by making sure that I was in charge. And the lesson I learned was that I had to let go of control. I had to let others bloom. I had to let others make mistakes, and I had to let others succeed. You may find my leadership style still kind of heavy. When I started Masters of Evaluation 3 years ago, I was president only for 8 months, and then I stepped aside and became treasurer. Eventually, I'll be off this board. If people want to run Masters of Evaluation differently than I do, I have learned that that is good. I am still passionate. I still interrupt everybody working on that one still. But I also believe that I am no longer the leader I used to be. That the lessons I learned in Itafari, we closed the foundation. We did reach our goals, but we closed it because there was no successor. I did not build a strong team behind me. And when I stepped down, the organization fell down. How do you want to lead? How do you want to take your business, your Toastmasters club, this club, another club to the next level? Eleanor Roosevelt said, to handle yourself, use your head. To handle others, use your heart. How do we lead with heart? It is a powerful lesson I've learned. And though Itafari no longer exists, the lessons, the people I've met, the ways they changed my life will live on in me forever. Consider the cult of leadership. Look at your own style. And I encourage you to become a leader that leads with heart. Madam Toastmaster.
Wow. Wow, that was powerful. The incidents in your life, the heart attack, it was a consequence of what happened to you, to your cult leadership style. But now you are different. Please give us 90 seconds of silence and give Vicky some feedback.
Madam Toastmaster, in 90 seconds.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share with you this very quickly. This is another incident that took place in July 19th and 20th on 1848, the Seneca Falls Convention. And it advertised itself as a convention to discuss the social, civil, and religious conditions and rights of women. So if you didn't know about this one, I learned today this, but all of us can check about this on this link on Wikipedia. Next, I want to introduce Sheila Lay Chance. Is that correct? Or La Chance?
Close enough. La
Okay.
Chance, La Chance. Hey, you, it
Okay.
all works.
Okay, Sheila La Chance is the evaluator for the speaker number 2. Take it away.
Thank you. Trudy will be speaking from the pathways of introduction to vocal variety and body language. The purpose of her project is for the members to practice using vocal variety or body language to enhance a speech. Now, being that we're on Zoom, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to limit to hands and face. We're going to leave the body out, Trudy, so hands and face. And then the vocal variety with the heart, like she mentioned, our previous speaker, we're going to listen to the vocal variety coming from the heart. And that's what I'll be evaluating your presentation on. So take it away, Trudy. And Mr. Timer John, it's 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. No, good morning.
Okay.
I'm not quite awake yet, but I'm here. Not an incident, to be quite honest. My speech today is the sweeping barrel. You would think sweeping barrel is a woman who is sweeping away, but no, sweeping barrel is something very different. It's what you call a hurricane. They give hurricanes name of people depending how they feel. I was not the one who gave it to this Miss Beryl, but Miss Beryl, she comes to the Caribbean as a deadly, very destructive hurricane. And she started her formation just off the coast of Africa, off the coast of Cape Verde. Cape Verde is a group of islands not too far from the coast, and people know Cape Verde for its infamous popularity of slave trade. Anyway, coming back to this, the hurricane was developed, it formed itself quietly first in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and slowly it developed itself into a category 5. Category 5 is very dangerous. That hurricane, not incidentally, but the water and the waves that led it to the coast of the Caribbean islands, the Windward Islands. It entered the island of Barbados first. Just a question in between. Have you ever lived through a hurricane? Anybody? Yay or nay? Quickly, tell me.
No.
No? Well, I haven't either. Just to sidetrack here, I come from an island that is outside the hurricane belt. But my people are from the area the hurricane hit first. that is the Windward Islands. So it entered Barbados, a very tiny island with millions of people living on it. That's over exaggerated. It's one of the most heavily populated island in the Caribbean. Anyway, it hit the island, so these people had to be prepared, and they did prepare themselves. They're used to having hurricanes, but never hurricane level to that extent. Level 4 is dangerous. It means it will destroy the entire island. It will kill people. It will leave them devastated. It will leave them with no income, basically. They will have absolutely no income to keep on building their economy. Most of these islands live by tourism. Some of them have special industry, such as the island where my mother's from and father from, Grenada. It's known as a spice island. We all love spice, etc. Anyway, the hurricane hit Barbados first and destroyed it practically completely, with the exception of some houses remain standing. Grenada, it hit Grenada too, leaving Barbados, hit Grenada, but before it hit Grenada, it hit Carriacou. Have you heard of Carriacou? Carriacou is a beautiful, beautiful island.
Yeah.
People live from fish, love, and tourism. Literally, fish, love, and tourism. It's a community that live together. So when they were hit by this sweeping barrel that swept over their islands, they came together as a group and said, we will rebuild. They were hit hard. Even the fishermen, they say have money, doesn't matter. They were hit hard, and they live and work together as a group to help each other and to rebuild. Grenada, the island itself, where my parents are from, my mother is from the northern part, Sotes. So the hurricane entered the island at a level 4. It destroyed that part of the island. I have been to Grenada just before COVID, and I stayed with my cousin in St. Patrick's, an island, St. Paul, sorry, a town just close to the capital of Grenada. I called my cousin to find out, were you swept away? She said, no, we were so lucky. You know what happened? Only a banana tree fell. And I said, well, you are really, really lucky. It's not an incident, but you're more than lucky than an incident in this case. She said, well, we will share what we have with the people around and also with the people in Carriacou, wherever we can sell. They have an estate, beautiful estate. Anyway, that hurricane continued on, and it was not only sweeping away, but it was also deadly, deadly, deadly. It crossed through the Caribbean basin. It caused a lot of destruction, and from there, it moved on, leaving behind such a great damage, an incredible amount of damage that people don't know how they will survive, because 13 more hurricanes or 12 more hurricanes are to pass through this region. Just imagine that you have to think back of part of this community of people that's living in the Caribbean, especially the Leeward and the Windward Islands, that get hit all the time by hurricane, but never a hurricane level 4 or level 5. And in knowing that, you have to do more than prepare. So one of the things they have done, the government have asked the people to hook their roof onto their houses. Because when the roof gone with the wind, no matter how heavy it is, the houses are not built to level 5, so destruction will occur. So poverty will remain in those communities for years and years to come. This is not an incident. This is more than an incident for those people. They know about it, but hurricane level 4 and 5, I would consider it an incident. The community had to ask for help, and they did get it. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Yes, that was a huge incident. Let's give 90 seconds of silence, and please give her feedback.
Madam Toastmaster, we've reached the incident of 90 seconds.
Thank you so much. Let me share this with you. No, it's not this one. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you see this?
No.
Not
No.
yet.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Okay, let's see. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 1952 Summer Olympics, unofficial branded as the Helsinki Olympics. And in 1951, they issued this stamp. That time, there were 69 nations in the Olympics. Now, our third speaker is coming, and I'm going to let the evaluator, Mr. Harold G., to give the objectives.
Yes. Judith Barber is going to give a pathway speech, motivational strategies, level 3. It's from 5 to 7 minutes, and you should expect an interesting presentation. Miss Judith Barber. Oh, 1 second. Pardon me. The purpose of this project is for the members to cultivate an understanding of how their emotions impact relationships. Let me emphasize, the purpose of this project is for the member to cultivate an understanding of how their emotions impact relationships. It is also designed to help the member identify how other emotions impact their emotional state. And the purpose of the speech is for the member. Judith Farber, and she will give the title.
Thank you, Harold. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. How often have you had the experience, whether it is your personal life or in your professional setting, when you just couldn't understand people and you felt they did not understand you? Emotional intelligence is our ability to understand our emotions, our feelings, and therefore understand others. The phrase emotional intelligence was coined by David Daniel Goleman in the 1990s, who was a psychologist / sociologist. He believed that the higher emotional intelligence is a lot more important than one's high IQ. There are 3 important components emotional intelligence have. 4, actually. First is self-awareness. We have to be aware what is going on. Second, sympathy. Self-regulation, so then we can regulate our emotions while it's happening, and so it's not going all over the place. And finally, social skills for a harmonious and a good relationships. It is very important. But how do we get there? For me, it was a long, long journey. I come from a pretty messy upbringing. My mother's, the divorce, all sorts of stuff going on. So care and love were limited supplies. So I developed a barrier between other people emotions and myself, saying, I had enough stuff to deal with my own. I don't really want to absorb anybody else's. Then one day something interesting happened. This is about 30, 40 years ago. I was having a conversation with a friend, but she was having all sorts of problems, and I gave her some wise advice how to deal with it. And after I hung up the phone, I said to myself, I don't have empathy. What's wrong with me? I don't feel the emotions of this person. So as typical of me, as I was that year, I went to Hungary to visit my friends and relatives. So I bought a book on empathy. So by the time I came back from my vacation, I read most of it and decided I need to have some psychotherapy. And during the psychotherapy and after the session, which was absolutely a liberating experience for me, that I have the capacity and I am okay to absorb and feel compassion and other people's emotions as well. Then have to think about my business, how you balance this. I am in a business and as esthetician, but I have personal relationship with each person. Some of them I know for almost 40 years. I know about their lives, their drama, their marriage, their divorce, their children, all sorts of things. So then I had to learn, how do I separate myself from their emotions from mine? So when I leave my business, I don't take the story home with me. That took a long time. This whole emotional intelligence and balance everything out, it's a daily task. To be mindfulness, what's going on with us, and a constant reflection. 3 weeks ago, a friend of mine from Northern California called me in a terrible state she was in, angry, upset, and all sorts of emotions. The story was that she ended up buying a tablet for her brother who is bedridden and wanted to have him a really wonderful experience to watch movies, television. But the tablet stopped, even though it was a very simple device, about 2 weeks later. So she was all upset. Contacted the manufacturer, all those people, nothing changed. And she put into a considerable amount of money. So as I was listening to her story, first thing came to my mind. What's wrong with this tablet? Why doesn't this work? What could be wrong with it? And then 2 seconds later, I thought, no, she didn't call me to fix her problem. She called me to have a sympathetic ear, to listen to her emotional upset and understand what she is going through. It's a work that goes on all the time, how you balance all this. The question is, how much emotion is too much and how much is too little? And that takes time, pretty much daily, so we can balance this out and we have our relationship with friends and people we work with in a much even scale. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Judith. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Now, please, 90 seconds of silence and give her feedback.
Madam Toastmaster, we reached the incident of 90 seconds.
Thank you so much, John. Without incident, I'm going to show you this. This is something that caught my attention. It was the United Airlines flight 232 that was going from Stapleton International Airport in Denver to O'Hare International Airport in Chicago, continuing to Philadelphia International Airport. And on July 19, 1989, it crashed and landed at Sioux Gateway Airport in Sioux City. But what caught my attention is the amount of people that were on board, 296, and 112 died, and 184 people survived. And despite the fatalities, the accident is considered a good example of successful crew resource management. It has been termed the impossible landing, and it's considered one of the most impressive landings ever performed in the history of aviation. It cannot be mimicked in the testing. I hope you remember this case too. Now I'm going to call. This was an incident that I made. I didn't call Ray Sweeney, that is the general evaluator. And I think, Ray, you are going to start calling for the reports. Is that correct?
Marjorie, I think we're going to go first with the timers report and then second to Shantae for our table topics.
Okay, well, the report, the timer report, John put it on the chat, and it was Vicky, 7 minutes, 22 seconds, Trudy, 7 minutes, 9 seconds, and Judy, 7 minutes, 20 seconds. Now, Shante, are you here?
I am here without incident.
Okay, good. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And hello, good morning, and welcome, Masters of Evaluations, friends, members, and guests. I am Shantae Howard, and I have the plum-pleasing pleasure to be your Table Topics Master today. Table Topics is one of my favorite parts of the meeting because this is where we get to practice our impromptu speaking, and I get to use the word extemporaneous, and I love that word extemporaneous. And only Toastmasters, I feel like, know what extemporaneous means. So you guys get to indulge me for the moment. Here in Masters of Evaluation, we add a little special touch to our table topics. We do what is called snap evaluations. With the snap evaluations, for the benefit of our guests and friends, I will ask a table topics questions as traditionally we will do. And then immediately after, I will call upon one of you to give a 30-second evaluation. Sandra has given us the evaluation kind of protocol in the chat. Thank you, Sandra, for that. So I will start with somebody who is a little seasoned in this and knows the flow of it so that you all can see an example. And then I'm going to call on you so that you have a chance to practice. So my first question is about Judith's speech, which, Judith, you gave a very touching and heartwarming and open speech. So thank you for that. Judith opened up with the question, have you ever been misunderstood? She phrased it a little differently. I kind of paraphrased that there. But my question for you is, have you ever felt like you were misunderstood? And I'm going to ask Tamara.
Well, there probably were some moments of misunderstanding, but I'd rather focus on my reaction to that. You know, sometimes I ask somebody to do something. I ask my husband to do something. He's a wonderful person, but he is very busy. And his typical reply is, it's on my list. It's on my list. But I would like things to be done quicker. So I never express any impatience. I never scold or say, haven't I told you several times to do this and that? I just have my own method. I repeat as if it's the first time I ask for something. If you have time, could you please do this and that? In 2 hours, just as if I didn't mention it, if you please, the same thing. And then the person knows that what my expectations are. So if somebody misunderstands my intentions from the first time, this is my way to solve the problem peacefully, quietly, without offending anybody, without getting upset myself, controlling my emotions, taking care of the person's emotions. So this is my style. I'm a peacemaker in general. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Tamara. You answered that question without incident. We appreciate you. May we please have her SNAP evaluation done by the magnificent President Sandra?
Very good evaluation. And I really like that you repeated what impacted you in particular. And it was very clear. Your speaking pace was right on, Trudy. I'm sorry, Tamara. Still having a hard time with your name. And very well organized. I felt that you really were on the spot and were able to give her a good evaluation. And I have to say, Judith, I loved your speech. So that would have been a hard question for me. Thank you.
Thank you both. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do a table topics question and a SNAP evaluation. So my next question is going to be geared towards one of our amazing founders, Vicky Trabash. She gave a speech today, a speech about how her life changed, and it started with a brick. I want to know about a life-changing incident in your life, Maryori.
Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. A life-changing event probably happened when I was having a conversation with my grandchild, who was born female, who now identifies as male. And so as we engaged in conversation, it was very evident to me that I needed to bring myself up into this current conversation, this current perspective of how people see themselves, and not put them into a box that just because they physically look a certain way, that does not mean that they vibrate, that they feel that they are that way as the world may see them, and that they have their own self-acceptance, that they have their own way of envisioning themselves. And so it was life-changing because I had never had an opportunity to talk with someone in depth, intimately, at how they could come out looking one way, but perceive themselves as another, and the difficulty that was for them. And so I had to begin changing and transforming my language from he, him, beautiful, pretty, masculine types of language and feminine types of language to something a little more neutral, something a little more that was acceptable to those who were not considered part of the binary philosophy or way of life. So that was very transforming for me. And today, I'm happy to say that I have up-leveled my way of looking and up-leveling my pronouns. And it's been a very revealing way. And I believe that my grand appreciates me. And, it reminds me of what Maya Angelou said, that people may forget what you did or what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And I think I made my grand feel very accepted and happy that I'm her grandmother. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Maryori. You did that without incident, and it was extremely touching. So thank you for sharing. I would love to hear a snap evaluation from Rosie.
Hello. I really like your speech, how you start and how you leave emotions in me, that you talk about your relationship between you and granddaughter and now grandson. So, and I like how you solve the issues and you have a quote at the end as well. It makes your speech more outstanding comparing with just have one story keep going on and going on. But anyway, I love your speech. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. Trudy gave us a heartwarming speech about living in what I was pronouncing wrong. I was pronouncing it as Curacao, but you called it Curacao. Did I say that right, Trudy? I still said it wrong. Okay, sorry. It's okay.
It's okay.
She talked about living in a hurricane, and she did ask us a question: has anyone ever lived through a hurricane? I want to know if you've ever lived through any, outside of COVID, because that was a natural disaster, but if you've lived through any national disaster, hurricane, earthquake, flood, I would like to hear from Baku.
Thank you, Shantae, for having me. I appreciate you calling on me. Thinking about major incidents that I have lived through, I can just talk about this week, actually. I'm here in Illinois. I'm in the south suburb of Illinois, and we just actually had earlier this week a couple of tornadoes that touched down. I was with family this week, and we were actually hanging out at a lounge when the tornado started. So the rain was coming down, the thunder was heavy, the winds were blowing extremely loud. So, it was a very scary situation. The lights started to blink, and our family just huddled together as we were having our food and cocktails and traded stories just to comfort each other. We did not want to leave the place or the venue until, those conditions started to let down. So although it was a scary incident, it was also a time for us to just really sit and talk with each other and share memories, which made us all happy and raised our emotions in such, a scary time. But, with God's grace, we did get through it. And I had to clean up a lot of trees and things that, fell in my parents' yard. But I was very excited, just to be sharing a story with my mother of what had happened, although it was scary. But it was an incident that I did live through, and here to tell the story today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that question without incident. I would love to hear an evaluation from Nuta.
You were Madam Toastmaster, a table topic master. This is my first time, so it's really new for me. But I really love the structure that you have in your speech, where you start off talking about your telling your story where you live and your experience with the tornado and how you deal with that. It's very like a personal story. The way you speak is very easy to get in touch to, and I love the way that you deliver it. So thank you very much. Back to you, Madam Table Topic Master.
Thank you. You did that great for your first time, Nuta, without incident. So thank you so much. And I believe I have time for one more question. This year, I set a goal for myself to write a book. This is something I've been wanting to do for as long as I can remember. And I am now officially starting to work on it without incident. I would love to know what is a goal that you have set for yourself this year. And I would like to ask that of Eunice.
Well, thank you very much for that question, Shantae. My goal, I actually set several goals each year, but this year I made an attempt instead of setting goals to really get some things accomplished. So one of my goals is I have several different types of businesses, but they're all kind of related. And I don't really want to let one go or the other one go, because that means that people that are depending on me will no longer have me there to depend on. I should be listening to what Judith said earlier. I need to learn how to leave some things behind, but I'm trying to find a way to combine them. So I've really been digging into it every single quarter. I look at what's going on. I review what I've accomplished so far as I move along, and I'm making changes. So I'm trying to move these big rocks off that's been holding me back, that's been keeping my businesses separated. As a matter of fact, I recently signed up for a coach at the small business. We have a small business association in California, PCR. So I've been working with them, and that also has been keeping me on track in terms of solving my goals and helping me to move forward. Thank you very much for that question, Shantae.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. See, you answered that without incident. I absolutely love that. Thank you, Eunice. Can we please have a snap evaluation for Eunice by Layla? Layla, are you here?
I think she's gone now. I noticed she dropped off.
She did. Okay, no problem. Then in that case, I am going to circle.
No, she's here. I see her. I see her picture.
Oh, I do see her. Sorry.
It's okay. Layla, are you available to evaluate Eunice?
No.
Okay, no problem. I will go to John. I will go for you for evaluation, and I will time you. John Graham.
Oh boy, I wasn't ready for this. Eunice, that was a very nice, quick overview. And I would love to hear some of the other projects that you're involved with. I think that sounds like you're extremely busy. I would like to have seen you be more demonstrative a little bit about some of the events that you're involved with. And you talk about the different businesses, and very intriguing to me. But drawing me in more with your hand gestures and vocalization would have been a good thing. Of course, that's something we look for in speeches, not in quick table topics. So, but I thought you did excellent. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much for stepping in there, John. You did that without incident. So thank you so much. And as a quick recap, we had Tamara, who talked about being misunderstood. Muriel talked about her life-changing events with her grandson. Baku talked about living through a tornado. And Eunice talked about goals in her business. So thank you so much, you all, for sharing. Thank you to Sandra, Rosie, Nuta, and John for your SNAP evaluations. I now turn over the lectern back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Shante. No incidents with this table topics. You are always at the top of that. I love it. John, do you have the time report for this, the table topics?
Do you want me to give that to you verbally or in
Yes,
chat?
that's fine.
Okay.
Verbally, if you have.
We had Tamara at 146. We had who was the starts with an S? Who was that? My writing is very bad. 40 snap evaluation was 46 seconds. And then we had And then we had Muriel at 2 minutes 18. We had Rosie at 35 seconds, Baku at 1:30, Nutta at 23, Eunice at 1:30, and I think 30 seconds or so. What was it? Yeah, okay,
Yep,
right.
30 seconds.
So that's my time report. I'll put it in chat too.
Thank you, John. No incident with that. Let me call to the virtual lectern our general evaluator, Ray Sweeney. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Marjorie, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests, General Evaluator. Well, what does that role encompass? I didn't get to say at the beginning, so just quickly. It's to see how we can improve as a group, how we can raise the standard. And we're going to start very quickly this evening with our first evaluator, who's going to raise the standard, Mr. John White.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to evaluate Vicky Trabosh. I almost didn't make it in time. Talk about an incident that I would have never forgiven myself for. Vicky is the consummate professional speaker. Her background, which is a different one than she was using, was just spot on. There was a plaque in the background relevant to what she was talking about. The hair recently coiffed, the summer dress seasonally appropriate. She looks like a woman who makes a living in front of the Zoom space. So immediately you want to hear it. And then she comes out, as always in her speeches, she tells you why we're here and what she's going to do. I had a failure I learned from, and I'm going to share the lessons I learned from you. Then she had a moment of self-awareness, not a moment, a life of self-awareness. She called out her leadership style. And then she went on and talked about the Rwandas and the Itsafaris. She had a great prop, the brick, what that imagery. She even spoke about a cult of personality and that it's on both sides, the Democratic Republic. It was everything. It didn't demonize anyone. It didn't put anyone, us versus them. It had a generalized message. And then she talked about the lessons at the end. Just a beautiful speech. Vicky, if you asked me to look about your presence, I think I already told you about it. I mean, you're right up there with whoever the top newscaster, Diane Sawyer back in the day. I don't want to say Barbara Wawa because she's a little controversial, but you're up there. And so, yeah, presence is great. As far as the attention, I had rapt attention. I think the MoEers had rapt attention, but there was the cult of Zoom, which is people are looking at news, at their notes. People are looking this. It's not that they don't care. We're just wired, like giving a speech and not looking at notes at Zoom. I think some of us, I know we're maybe a Toastmaster, we have a function, we want to be prepared, but if we could be present and listen to Vicky. I think that was a Zoom thing, Vicky, it wasn't you. Areas for opportunity. And I want to invoke Eleanor Roosevelt. You talked about head and heart. Your head is incredible, and your heart is based upon your actions in your life. Lean into the heart. I left Rwanda a changed woman. How? Slow it down. What was it? When I saw that brick, the color of the earth that many of these women's faces been buried, whatever, what was it? A white woman could connect with a black woman, an American with an African. What was it that changed you in that moment? I think we need to hear that. And then the other part of the self-awareness, Vicky, you know what type of leader you are. I want you to tell me that you know how that impacts me. I want you to know that maybe that's discouraging, that I want to be that leader. But in that, I don't feel comfortable stepping out because you're always perfect and you want to do it right. And I don't feel like I get a chance to fail. This is just a hypothetical voice speaking. I want that. And I think that's a sign of the ultimate leader. I know who I am and I know how this behavior impacts you. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, John. Round of applause there for that excellent evaluation. We're going to hand the stage now straight over without incident to Sheila Lachance, our second evaluator.
Thank you. And thank you, Trudy, and fellow MoEers. My purpose today is to elevate Trudy's speech and to elevate us all to a higher level of evaluations and speaking. Again, hers was on body language and hands, and I mentioned before I'm going to focus on the face and the hands because that's what we've got. We're limited with the Zoom environment. She had a wonderful face. I love her background too, which went in with her face because it's a visual thing here. And the colors were fantastic. She connected with me with her eyes. She wasn't reading anything. I felt her heart. One improvement upon her hands would be to have less hands, actually, because some of them were just like this down low, whereas she had opportunity for hands on the 5-level hurricane, making that 5 really punch up to the screen would have been more effective than a slow 5 and then down again. Another opportunity for hands when she said sweeping, really kind of practice that. I'm not practicing too well on my, but really sweeping. I love the word sweeping bands that really connected with me. So that would be my suggestion for the hands. The voice. I love that she said deadly twice, because talk about that'll add instant variety to a voice is when you repeat deadly, deadly. She could have even said it a third time, because that impacts us with the voice. It's an easy way to get the voice variety in there is to use repetition. We remember repetition. We don't always hear it the first time. Incidentally, I heard the word incident everywhere. And incidentally, I'm not going to use that incidentally word. And you can count that, but I'm not going to incorporate it. Back to Trudy and her speech. The sweeping hands. I would have loved to have seen that. I felt her energy. I felt her passion. I felt her ability to connect through her voice. So holster the hands, Trudy. I use the term holster the hands. Keep the hands down so they're not doing anything below that we can't see. And again, connect with this by really exaggerating the sweeping and the hands. That will incorporate a huge amount of vocal variety and impact through your voice as well with the repetition. Love the title again, sweep through the hands, the emotion. Now I'm going to address the emotion. You could have said sweeping. I mean, I just heard sweeping. Sweeping, like it, but sweeping, really accentuate the word sweeping. Say it 3 or 4 times in the speech, because why? It connects with the title and it elevates our memory to remember. She kept saying sweeping, just like we're saying the word incidentally all over the place. Use that word more and more and more, because it's very creative, and your title is wonderful because what it does, it creates curiosity. It's like, what does she mean? Sweeping bands. What? I've never heard that before. So you created curiosity with that, Trudy. You are an exemplary speaker, and I applaud you, and I honor that I was your evaluator today. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Sheila. Excellent evaluation there. I want to put Muriel on notice, on standby, get counting, get ready. We're going to go to Evaluator 3 next, which is Mr. Harold G.
Had a little incident with my, never mind. Fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. I'm evaluating the speech of Miss Judith Farber. Miss Farber gave the speech from Pathways, Level 3, about emotional strategies. In the title of her speech, as I understand it, emotional intelligence. You immediately notice Judith is standing. She has wonderful eye contact. And one thing about Judith, she's self-confident, very calm, gives a very pleasant presentation about emotional intelligence. He elaborates, she enumerates, lists self-awareness, sympathy, and self-regulations as part of having emotional intelligence. Now, what I really liked about her speech, entire speech, well, she says that she has friends and she listens to her friends. She's sympathetic with her friends. But really, what she had an eye-opening was when she went to psychotherapy. That's what I expected her to tell me with, a good deal of vocal variety, be more dynamic. She got to know the real Judy Farber, the lady within that she admires and respects. She goes on to point out that her mother, when she was divorced, she came from a troubled background. She feels that was the cause of her behavior, of her emotions. And she didn't she felt that when people would call, she was not sympathetic enough. Now, her profession, esthetician, I thought she could have told us, what is an esthetician? What do they do that people are talking to you day and night, and that has an effect on your emotions? She wrapped up her speech by emphasizing balance and showing out that you have to have balance in your life. And emotions are very important. And since this was emotional strategies, she gave us a few strategies, but she did not elaborate. She said having sympathy, self-regulation. How did she have self-regulation? Does she meditate? Does she take time? Is she into prayer? What is it that had helped her get? She got self-awareness because of her psychotherapy treatment, which was eye-opening to her and helped her change her life. How could we, your audience, get help? The speech was interesting, but I thought she could have framed it a little differently, but she concluded well. She emphasized you have to have balance in your life. And key, I wanted her to define what does she mean by balance? That's a nice word. Something on one side and on the other. Emotional balance. Now, what could she have done to make this speech more interesting to me? Have more dynamism. Okay, this may be overused word. Passion. That's right. Emotions create passion. She was quite calm, and it was like it was a gray bay quality about her speech. This same level. She should have had some hard-hitting topics: emotion, jealousy, love, dislike, how you overcome these things. But I enjoy listening to Judith because she's such a talented Toastmaster. Mr. Evaluator.
Thank you, Harold. Constructive feedback there for Judith. I could see her nodding along and taking notes, possibly. Now we go to our grammarian, who's going to tell us how we did with the word of the day. Muriel.
Well, I think it comes as no surprise to anyone that the word of the day incident was used and used and used again. And I'm so delighted that we passed our number of times that we set. Our goal was 25.
You are muted.
I am muted. So I don't know how much you heard me say, but we passed our goal of 25 for the word of the day. Of course, Marjorie used it, I used it, Vicky used it, Trudy, and John Graham, John White used it. Shantae, of course, tied with Marjorie using it. Ray used it, Tamara used it, Sheila used it. Of course, Harold took us over the top to 32. I could not find anyone who used so you like, but any of those words, so we're not going to go there. But there were some memorable phrases, and I noticed on the agenda, I only have a couple of minutes, so I'm not going to do my deck of cards with who said what. But I will ask a few questions to see if you were listening. Who quoted Eleanor Roosevelt?
Vicky.
So I'm going to ask you to unmute and answer me.
Yes.
Okay. Who talked about the sweeping barrel?
Oh, that was
Trudy.
Sheila.
Who bought a book on empathy?
Judith. Shantae.
Who needs a sympathetic ear?
All of us.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Who wants to leave people's stories with them?
Judith.
Yes. Who talked about the impossible landing? Similar to that movie Denzel Washington did in Flight. I thought about the way he flew that plane upside down, but who talked about the impossible
Marjorie.
flight?
Marjorie.
Marjorie.
That's right.
Who was misunderstood once and they focus on their own reactions?
Tamara.
Tamara. Who is a peacemaker?
Tamara.
All right. Who has to let go of control and let others lead?
Vicky.
Vicky.
All right.
All of us.
Who was, yes, indeed, John. Who was in a scary incident?
Daku.
Baku.
Mhm.
Let me see. I think I might
Yes.
time this up. It's 10:20. Who wants to lead people? I never asked you that. Who said the ability to connect was done well? Oh, she just said it. Sheila. Who said sweeping hands with repetition?
Sheila.
Sheila.
Sheila. Who is an esthetician?
Judith.
Judith.
Who said speak interesting? Who said your speech was interesting but not framed well?
Harold.
And who said emotions create passion? And that's the end of my
Harold.
report. All right, back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Muriel. And talking about smooth landings, raise your hand if you were born 1969 and you were alive. Raise your hand. 1969, July the 19th, going into the 20th. Neil Armstrong lands on the moon.
Oh, right. Yes.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. What a quote that is, eh? So, guys, today's meeting, were we without incident? Or were we perhaps a little discombobulated? We will find out. We opened with Tamara. Tamara, superb. You gave us something very original. It was poetry in motion. Handing over to the president, Sandra, who introduced our guests. And I always love it when the guests are introduced because that's where we create the rapport and that's what the guests remember. If I may be so bold, with those two roles, president and Sergeant at Arms, we have to hit the ground running with the energy. That's where it all starts from. If we get a slow start, we're like Usain Bolt out of the blocks. So we need to harness that energy, and it's what brings the meeting roaring ahead to a 100-meter sprint. Moving on, we had the Zoom Master role. Now, we had a great opportunity there to introduce, first time, our newest member, and I think we just missed the boat. So we've got to look at the agenda, and if we're the Toastmaster, you've got to bring that person forward and introduce that role as Zoom Master. That's their opportunity to speak on stage. Also, the General Evaluator role got a little bit skipped over, but that's not a problem. We're all experienced on here now tonight, so we know how it works, and I'm going to go through it now. Marjorie, I think you did a fantastic job. It's never easy to juggle Zoom, screen sharing, Toastmaster role. So well done. Round of applause to Marjorie there. Handing through to Muriel, who needs no introduction when it comes to bringing the energy up with the word of the day, incident. I mean, that was incredible. That's got to be our favorite word in the club, I think, so far. So let's move on to the next section. So our evaluators, John White, a little bit late to the party, but always ready to rock. We know that. We can rely on John. Vicky gave a great speech. That's been evaluated. John Graham, on it as always, especially as the timer. Everything's in place, top of the screen. Everyone can see what's going on with the time. Congratulations. Sheila, you did a great explanation of the upcoming speech. For Trudy, as well, you were fantastic with your hurricane story, which was evaluated. Handing over to Harold G, who was our third evaluator, and he grabbed it and threw it all together. Leading us into Judith, and Judith, you've been evaluated. So in summary, that section there with the timers report all worked very well, which then led to our table topics.
Yeah.
Shantae hits the screen, as always, with energy. Great explanation of the role to anyone who's not seen it before and doesn't understand what a snap evaluation is. And she brought our guests into the fold, giving Nuta the opportunity to try it. I'm sure Nuta is going to benefit from that opportunity, being a first-time speaker at Table Topics. That section went really well. We moved on to the next part, which was the evaluations. We run through those. John Whiteheat came through with humor, great feedback. Our second was Sheila. She elevated us all. Harold, vocal variety, breaking it down for us. There was a slight tweak with the sound at the end there, Harold. I'm not sure. It sort of cut off. We all had to lean in. Just check your sound and make sure your mic's working okay. In summary, I think we made up on the back stretch, right? The last 20 minutes of the 20 meters of the race, we caught up. We know what we do well here. We need to focus on that. Focus on fluidity. Focus on the handovers, the interactions with other people. When someone passes you the mic, hit the stage with power and presence. Start with energy. Watch the screen. I noticed there was about 40% of the screen were clapping. Wave your hands, put them in the air, raise the energy, clap if you can. And it creates that Zoom room rapport. Guys, fantastic meeting. Let's keep elevating as always, as we always do. And now it's back to Marjorie, our Toastmaster, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ray. Excellent evaluation, general evaluator at best. I'm really very appreciative of that. There is an incident today, and is the Microsoft outage caused by crowd strikes and banks, airlines, television networks, and health systems around the world that rely on Microsoft's 365 were hit. But there is another incident, and it's MoE. We had a beautiful, wonderful meeting, and everyone did a marvelous job. At this time, I'm passing the baton to Vicky Trabosh.
Thank you so much, Madam Toastmaster. What a wonderful meeting. And thank you all for your participation today. I'd like to call on our guest, Nuta. Oh, you said you came for the evaluations. How did we do for you today? What value did it bring?
Thank you very much for the question. For me, I really love the experience in this meeting very much. I have passion for personal evaluation. So by listening to each speaker and listening to each evaluator is really a great experience for me. Like for me, listening to the same speech, everyone have different opinion. But then listening to other people's opinion on the speech, it helps me learn and makes me like, oh, I didn't really like that. And it's like that light bulb in my head. So I really love it. Just a little bit of a suggestion for me. During the table topic section, it would be great if you could tell that the guests can participate. I wasn't expecting that, so I didn't prepare myself. And it is my first time as the SNAP evaluation. Despite that, really great experience for me, and thank you for the opportunity for the guests to participate in this meeting as well. Back to you, Vicky.
Thank you so much. You know, great points you made. We need to do a better job. And maybe tomorrow you can add that to your discussion that we will call on guests unless they request we don't. Like, I love the way Layla said, no, I'm not ready. I love that, Layla. And we really invite you back. Kudos to you for showing up at 11 o'clock at night. Honest to goodness. I don't know how you do it. I'm fast asleep by then, snoring gently. It is on the hour. We have 1 minute to go. I would like, Sandra had to leave, so that's why I'm up. I'd like to formally close the meeting, and Muriel is our VP of membership. Nuta, if you're interested in joining and learning more, I'll share her email with you, Muriel, so you can follow up. And I'd like to formally close the meeting, and then if you all stay on for a minute, we'll fill the roles for the next meeting. And I want to show you something exciting on the new agenda. So with that, thank you all for a wonderful meeting today. And Ray, excellent evaluation of the entire meeting. Really helpful, really helpful. So we continue to grow. So with that, I call the meeting adjourned, and let's get to the agenda. So let me share my screen.